This video will be about bullet impacts. They are an essential effect in shooters because they serve two roles, visuals, of course, and gameplay. Without them, you don't know where you are firing or if you have hit a target. They affect the visual mood and ambiance, but these effects have to be very optimized because you can have a lot of them on the screen at the same time. Our first bullet impact is a hit on a concrete surface. It's the one I always begin with as it's the most common. The first effect is some smoke, which height and duration defines the effect's basis. We could add some slight rotation or size randomness to add a little variation. Let's add some more smoke and different texture, which will help for the shrapnel. We have to see the effects from far away, so let's check that. Seems okay. Always look at the particle number. It's only 3 or 4 particles, so we are good to go and add other effects. Adding some concrete shrapnel gives more life to the effects. Not many, just enough to add some density and strength to the bullet impact. The last thing our particle system needs are sparks to make it more visible from a distance, and it looks great too. One very important feature, your bullet impact will not always be vertical. It can be oriented at whatever angle the surface it hits. So let's try horizontal orientation. You'll have to test with different angles to make sure the effects works well. The emitter is set up in a local space, and the general velocity is based on the z-axis. The gravity is not affected by the rotation. It depends on the engine, so be careful when using a local space flag. Now we could just take our concrete bullet impact, duplicate it, change out some settings, and create a wood bullet impact. Reusing assets makes sure that you have good consistency for both visual and the behavior of your bullet impacts. Changing the smoke color and size and duration. Let's add some wood splinters with a sub-UV texture to set to random, and use the opacity mask to optimize the display. I let some more smoke last longer and the decal to show the bullet hole or effect on the surface. That's a 3D mesh, but remember that usually the game engine computes and displays the right place for the decal. But sometimes, because of the simplified collision, you can run into some visual glitches. As you can see here, the red border is the collision of the mesh. No worries on a box. The collision follows a static mesh surface, but on a concave or a convex mesh, as in this case, the decal can have an offset and won't be on the mesh surface. But it really depends on the game engine you're using. Be always careful when adding decals to your bullet impacts. Moving on with our bullet impact, let's create a metal impact, reusing the concrete one to start. The vertical smoke is velocity oriented, so it will always be vertical whatever the camera position is. The particle will always be on the z-axis. Add some smoke, a few black shrapnel, and smoke again. Let's add some sparks to enhance the visual. Their size depends on their velocity. As I show you by changing their size, this effect will be visible from far away, and it's a good visual cue. It's metal, no doubt. Always try to find what effects is more representative of the surface type, concrete, sparks, and dust, to create appealing bullet impacts. Just as a demonstration, I added an animated glowing metal decal. It fades out like the metal is cooling down. Seen from here, the effects works well, so let's move on to the glass bullet. Same concrete-based effects. I add some glass shrapnel with different velocities, duration, and gravity. Having a highlight is key to a good glass particle, as glass always reflects some light. Just as a visual cue, a glass decal on the window will do the trick. Seen from a distance, it's visible enough. That's it for bullet impacts. Particle systems can cost a lot performance-wise. One way to optimize the rendering is by using LOD or level details. In this example, I have created 4 particle systems based on the concrete bullet impact. No LOD. The first effect is the nearest one, the one that you will see, for example, between 0 and 4 meters. First LOD. No more collisions on the shrapnel, less smoke between 4 to 10 meters. Second LOD. No more shrapnel, 2 to 3 particles for the smoke, between 10 to 30 meters. Third LOD. 1 particle for the smoke, and a bright particle, as sparks or a decal, as the effect has to remain visible from a distance, more than 30 meters. Once you have decided at what distance every LOD will be used, you have to optimize your particle system, reduce the number of particles, for example, but remember to follow these rules. Rendering consistency. Volume, color, and the lifetime must remain the same, unless the effect is barely visible. First reduce what costs a lot, collisions, then very small particles, lighting, etc.